Can you guys see that right there? Mosquito bite. I got that just a couple hours ago, which got me thinking of the question of God. Why? One day when I meet God, one of my big questions for him is going to be, God, why mosquitoes? Just like, why? Hey everybody, my name is Adam. This is a year in the life of a 40-year-old youth pastor, and we're doing Leadership Essentials Part 12 today. Why? It's a question that's ingrained to us as human beings from the time we're little kids who are asking our mom and dad, why? Kids naturally ask this question, and it's a key, critical question to think about, and then a question that we need to answer as leaders if we're going to be effective at leading people or influencing people towards almost anything. Why? Lead with the why. Start with the why, and then continue with the why, and then remind people of the why, and then tell stories about the why, and then end with the why you're doing something, or why you're changing something, or why you're going somewhere, or why you're trying to get people to think something differently. Without the why, then nothing else is really going to work. Like, it doesn't matter what your thing is that you're trying to accomplish, or what it is you're trying to sell, or what it is you're trying to do. If they don't know why you're trying to do that thing, or go that place, or buy that thing, or sacrifice for that thing, people will have a much more difficult time getting on board and following your lead. And so what I've learned over the years in ministry and in leadership is that the why is absolutely critical. I believe that this is one of the critical differences between leaders who are able to effectively lead and inspire people towards a desired goal and those who are not. Those who don't lead with the why often get frustrated and they get confused, like, why aren't people getting on board with this? Why aren't people following? Why aren't people getting this thing? And part of the reason could be because you're not giving them a compelling reason why they should do whatever it is you're trying to get them to do. I think one of the reasons for this, like I mentioned earlier, is because God literally built and designed us as human beings to be people who want to know the why. It's just in us. We see it in little kids. And so when we know the why, we're willing to do the why, right? But yet so often we just jump and we skip that part, or we know the why, but we're not helping everybody who's who's following us to know the why, and so they don't follow as well. I think that people actually want to know the why as much as, or sometimes even more than, the what. If you have a compelling why, people are like, all right, whatever it is, I'll do it. I'm in. If the why is compelling enough, the what could be literally whatever you want it to be, and they'll go for it, and they'll do it. They're like, I'm with you. Whatever we're doing, I'm in. If you can lead with vision such that people are on board with the why, do whatever it takes to reach that why, and people will be with you. I really wish that I would have learned this so much earlier in my leadership journey, because it would have helped me just be a way better leader. A couple years ago, this principle just came to light in a huge way for me. I was serving as a middle school pastor out in Colorado, and I got two stories for you on this. The first one is that we wanted to make a significant change in the student ministry. They were doing their student ministry, their middle school ministry, twice a week. They're doing it on Saturday nights, kind of like right after the church service. In addition, they were doing it on Wednesday nights. And we were proposing, look, we're doing two things mediocre. What if we did one thing and we made it great? And it was like hurting us to do two things. They were both average rather than doing one thing that was actually awesome. And so we were getting ready to do this. We kind of like went to the leadership and said, hey, we want to make this big change. What do you guys think? And I led with the why. Here's why. And I had tons of reasons why. And they were like, well, I'm on board. Yeah. But they thought, man, people are going to be resistant to this. People are not going to like this. This is going to be a very challenging change in our ministry, but we're with you, go for it. And so we just went crazy, just casting the vision and giving the why and giving all, I believe we put together a very compelling why. Here's why we're doing this one night instead of two nights. Here's all the reasons. Here's the answers to all your objections. We clearly explained the why. And then, shockingly, there was almost no resistance to this thing. Maybe a few small grumblings, but I was almost in shock like, whoa, people aren't resisting this barely at all. And I think part of the reason is we went all in on trying to sell this thing with the why. We started it with the why, we led with the why, we expressed the why in a lot of different ways. It taught me like, whoa, I definitely needed to do more of casting the vision with why first. Second example was in the same youth ministry. We're trying to pull off this big event, this huge outreach event, like this, something this had never been done previously in this church. We want to do this thing that we were calling the big Halloween party. This idea was this massive Halloween party in the church. That in itself, just literally just the name, calling it the big Halloween party, was already ruffling feathers, and there was stirrings of like, this is going to be bad. You can't do this in a church. Halloween is bad. All that kind of stuff. Anyways, we had this big vision, like we want to reach unchurched kids with a Halloween party. And so we just, and our vision was so big that in order to pull off this event to the level that our goals we were setting, we were going to need 275 volunteers. Now this was far more volunteers than any event. I've never led an event with this many volunteers. It's like, can we pull this off? And so we just went all in on casting the vision and leading with the why in so many different ways. And we were putting the why into podcasts, and we were passionately presenting the why in videos and in emails and in face-to-face conversations and like everywhere. We were just like pounding the why, the why, the why, the why. And to our shock, like almost like, I can't believe we did this. We got all the volunteers we needed, plus some more. I was like, what? I have never gotten that many volunteers for anything in my life. What the heck? And when I look back on it, it was like, wow, we just went all in on leading with why and leading with vision, and people just got on board. Like people from all over the church, people from outside the church, they like saw we had a very compelling why of reaching these middle school students and the reasoning behind it, and it was like, boom, people were on board. And what I learned during those two events is that if you have a weak why, people may not buy. But if you have a compelling why, people will fly. Fly meaning they'll jump in and go all in with you. If you got a weak why, they may not buy. If you have a compelling why, people are going to fly and they're going to go all in. They're going to buy it and then take it and run with it to the level of flight. Okay, that might have been cheesy. Sorry, but hopefully it'll make you remember it. I learned during that period of my leadership that if you lead with the why, people will usually follow, especially if it's a compelling why and you're able to communicate it clearly and concisely. People will get on board if they believe in your why. In fact, sometimes they'll get on board even if they don't believe in your why, if it is a compelling why. They just need to be convinced, yeah, this makes sense, I get why we're doing this, I'm in. Even if that's not their why, they'll jump in on your why if it's a compelling why. So figure out whatever it is you're trying to lead people towards. If you don't have a compelling why, then probably, why are you doing it? See guys, the why is a critical component of leadership that I am convinced that when people are wondering, like, why aren't people getting on board with this thing? Why aren't people excited about this thing? Why aren't people like following my leadership? Oftentimes it's because they're missing the why component. So let me encourage you with this. If you're a leader in the ministry world or anywhere else, if something is going to be important in your organization or in your ministry, then you and all of those who serve in your organization, in your ministry, they need to know the why and be able to clearly communicate the why for why you're doing what you're doing to anybody else who would ask or who would wonder. So for my context in youth ministry, it's like, why are we doing worship? Why are we playing these games? Why are we preaching in the way that we're preaching? Why are we taking this trip? Why are we doing this particular event? Why are we doing this thing the way we're doing this thing? Why are we doing small groups the way that we're doing small groups? Why are we canceling on this one particular day? Why do we do this? Why do we do that? Why? People need to know the why. It's built into them by God. And so if you give them the why, I believe they will follow your lead. If you're a preacher, this applies to your preaching too. Why do you want them to know this thing? Why do you want them to do this thing? Why does this matter? Why should I even listen to you? I mean, it applies to so many other things as well. Why should I read this email? Why should I watch this video? If you can give people the why, they'll do whatever it is you're asking them to do. Many of you have already heard about this. There's this famous TED Talk by a guy named Simon Sinek called Start With Why. If you haven't seen that, man, that's like one of the most famous TED Talks ever. Brilliant stuff right there. A lot of this I learned from that TED Talk, and you should check it out if you haven't yet. It talks about Apple and how Apple leads with the why. Apple starts with the why, and as a result, they have raving fans. Raving fans. People spend a ridiculous amount of money on Apple products because they always start with the why. Like Steve Jobs, their founder leader, died years ago, and Apple still has raving fans because they figured out this principle of the why. I once heard it said that if you lose your why, you lose your way. So don't lose your why. Figure out what your why is, and then think about it, and then talk about it, and then talk about it more, and then talk about it obsessively until you're sick of talking about it, and then talk about it some more. It's that important. And if you do that, you'll be a better leader. Why? 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 So start with why, but don't just start with why, continue with why, and remind people of why, and keep leading with the why. So the next thing you're gonna go lead with the why, lead with vision, and I believe it'll make you more effective at leading and influencing people. That's all I got for today. Thanks so much for watching. You guys are awesome. See you tomorrow.